April 10th, 1912, from Southampton, England. It was heading to New York City on its very first voyage. And yes, it was considered unsinkable. But here's what people get wrong about that. The ship's builders never actually called it unsinkable. That word came from a magazine article. The press ran with it. The public believed it. The White Star Line, the company that owned the Titanic, never made that claim officially, which matters because it changes the whole story of what went wrong. The ship was 269 meters long, weighed 46,000 tons, had 9 decks. It could carry over 3,300 people. On this voyage, there were about 2,224 on board, and there were only 20 lifeboats. 20 lifeboats for 2,224 people. Even if every lifeboat was completely full, which they weren't, roughly half the people on board had no way off the ship. And here's the thing, this was completely legal. British maritime law at the time only required 16 lifeboats for a ship that size. The Titanic actually had more than the law required. The law just hadn't caught up with how big ships had gotten. On April 14th, 1912, 11:40 p.m., the lookout Frederick Fleet spots something in the water directly ahead. He picks up the phone to the bridge and says, "Iceberg, right ahead." The officer on duty orders the ship to turn hard and the engines reversed. But the Titanic was enormous. It couldn't turn fast enough. The iceberg scraped along the right side of the ship for about 10 seconds. 10 seconds. That's all it took. Here's what most people don't know. The iceberg didn't tear a massive gash in the hull. It buckled the steel plates slightly, created small gaps between them. Water started pouring in through a series of tiny openings along 90 meters of the hull. The ship had 16 watertight compartments. It could stay afloat, with 4 of them flooded. The iceberg damaged 5, one too many. And from that moment, the ship was going down. It was just a matter of time. The captain was Edward Smith, 62 years old. This was supposed to be his final voyage before retirement. He had received at least 6 iceberg warnings that day from other ships in the area. 6 warnings. And the Titanic was still traveling at close to full speed. Why? Nobody knows for certain. Some historians believe the owner of White Star Line, J. Bruce Ismay, was on board and pressuring the captain to arrive in New York early. To make headlines, to show off what the ship could do, Ismay survived the sinking. He got into a lifeboat. The press called him the coward of the Titanic for the rest of his life. He never recovered from it. Now, let's talk about the lifeboats, because this part is genuinely heartbreaking. The first lifeboat launched could hold 65 people. It left with 28. 28 people in a boat built for 65, while over 1,500 were still on the ship. Why? Because passengers didn't believe the ship was actually sinking. It was a cold night. The lifeboats looked small and unstable. The ship felt solid, warm, safe. Why would you leave? Crew members were begging people to get in. Many refused. By the time people understood what was happening, most of the lifeboats were already gone. The ship sank at 2:20 a.m., 2 hours and 40 minutes after hitting the iceberg. 1,517 people died. Most of them didn't drown. The water temperature was at -2 degrees Celsius. Hypothermia kills in about 15 minutes in water that cold. Most people in the water were dead before any rescue ship arrived. The closest ship was called the Californian. It was stopped in the water less than 20 miles away. Its crew saw the Titanic's distress rockets. 8 of them. They woke their captain. He looked. He went back to sleep. The Californian did not move. Its radio operator had turned off his radio for the night 30 minutes before the Titanic hit the iceberg. If the Californian had responded, hundreds more people could have survived. The ship that did arrive was the Carpathia. It picked up 705 survivors. Now here's where the conspiracy theories start. And this one is actually taken seriously by some historians. The Titanic had a sister ship called the Olympic. The Olympic was almost identical. Same size, same design, same everything. In 1911, the Olympic was involved in a collision and badly damaged. The insurance claim was rejected. White Star Line was left with a crippled ship and no payout. The theory goes like this. They switched the ships, put the damaged Olympic to sea as the Titanic, planned for it to have a minor accident, collect the insurance, except something went very wrong. The iceberg was bigger than expected. The ship actually sank. Is this theory true? Almost certainly not. But the evidence people use to support it is genuinely strange. Photos of the two ships show differences in the window layouts that don't match official records. Workers at the shipyard reported hull numbers that seemed inconsistent. J.P. Morgan, one of the richest men in the world, had booked a ticket on the Titanic. He canceled at the last minute. So did several other extremely wealthy passengers. Coincidence? Probably, but it's the kind of detail that makes people ask questions. Here's another thing the movie completely glossed over. The band really did keep playing. All 8 musicians stayed on deck and played as the ship went down. None of them survived. The last song they played is disputed. Some survivors said it was a hymn called Autumn. Others said it was something else entirely. We'll never know for certain. Every musician who could tell us is gone. The wreck was discovered in 1985 by Robert Ballard, 73 years after it sank. It's sitting at 3,800 meters below the surface of the North Atlantic, split in two, covered in rust, slowly being eaten by bacteria. Scientists estimate the wreck will be completely gone by 2030. Every physical trace of the Titanic dissolved into the ocean. In 2023, a submersible called the Titan went down to see the wreck. It imploded on the way down. All 5 people on board died instantly. The Titanic has now claimed lives in 3 different centuries. 1912, 1985, a crew member died during the Discovery expedition, and 2023. There's something about that ship that just keeps pulling people in. Here's what gets me about the whole story. The Titanic didn't sink because of bad luck. It sank because of a long chain of decisions made by real people. Ignoring iceberg warnings, traveling too fast, not enough lifeboats, a law that was out of date, a nearby ship whose captain went back to sleep. Remove any one of those decisions, and 1,517 people go home. Instead, they're still down there, 3,800 meters below the surface, in the dark, in the cold. So, what do you think was the biggest mistake that night? The speed, the lifeboats, the Californian doing nothing? Drop it in the comments.